1041 and Talk 1013, your home of the Vols, and also watching on Mix TV, available at mymix1041.com. It's week 2 of Rocky Top Review, getting ready for Tulsa's home opener at Neyland Stadium, kickoff at noon on both of our stations, and download the free Mix 1041 app at mymix1041.com. Joined, of course, by Stephen Shelton, Jason Cox. Guys, I guess we would say good morning as we get ready for the game. Shelton, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, 1-0. I'm really good right now.
Jason Cox, how are you, bud?
Hey, I'm doing the tomahawk chop right now. The Braves advance. Life's good.
Life is good. Well, let's go back and review a little bit on what happened last week. Tennessee with a big win at South Carolina. Shelton, opened the season.
31-27. Anytime you can get a win in the SEC is big. Anytime you can get a win on the road is even bigger. And, this is such a different atmosphere this year and circumstances with COVID. But to go to South Carolina, one of your rivals, and get a victory, William Bryce Stadium is not an easy feat. But the Vols come out victorious. It was a little ugly, but 1-0. They heading into Missouri, could just a great opening week for Tennessee football.
Jason, what do you make of it?
Well, we said last week, I think Stephen was the one that said that Jarrett Garantano needs to be a game manager. And I think anybody that watched the game, he frustrates us. What did we decide, Steve? He missed 10 open receivers?
He missed, yeah. So 10 open receivers. This is a 14-point win. But go ahead.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he didn't turn the ball over. Coach Pruitt said yesterday that he continued to get us in the right play and call the right coverage, protection for himself. The coaches really like the guy, and us fans watching the game, he frustrates us, but he did exactly what we said he needed to do last week, and that's manage the offense. What he needs to do this week, the only thing I could say he could improve on, complete some of those third down passes. If he misses on 6 instead of 10 and he completes 4 of those third down passes for first downs, I think Vol Nation feels a lot better about Garantano today.
Well, we're 1 of 12 on third down conversions last week. 1 in 12 is going to get you 4th place in the SEC East.
Yeah. And
so that's not going to get it done. Listen, I like Garantano as a person. I think he's a fighter, but I do not think he's an SEC quarterback. He cannot play at this level. Prove me wrong this week, please, JG. But I think it's time to maybe give Stroud some reps, give Maurer some reps, and just let's hope the freshman continues to progress as the season goes along, because you have too many weapons around you. Your offensive line is too good to have a guy that misses 10 open window throws in SEC football. It's just too hard to get open to begin with, but when you do, you've got to make those connections.
Well, but at the end of the day, he keeps winning. We've won 8 in a row now. Several of those have been comeback wins. Like I said, he frustrates us to death, but the kid keeps winning. And I know, you go up against Georgia and Florida, he's going to have to complete those balls on third down. Those long passes down the field when our guys are running wide open, we've got to hit those guys to beat the Florida and Georgias of the world. But you know what? We got out of South Carolina with a win last week. You just have to celebrate a road win in the SEC, as Coach said yesterday in his press conference.
Absolutely.
All right, you're with Rocky Top Review, Mix 1041, Talk 1013, Mix TV, presented by CHI Memorial. CHI Memorial, imagine better health, and Memorial Convenient Care has flu shots in the public shopping center, Paula Parkway in Cleveland. Well, our new format this year is more of a focus on the SEC, and so we're going to begin with South Carolina and Florida. That is a noon game as well, and that'll be held at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in Gainesville, home of the Gators. Today marks the 41st meeting between the Gators and the Gamecocks. Florida owns the all-time series edge at 28-9-3. In their meeting last season in Columbia, Gators over the Gamecocks 38-27. Shelton, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, Florida's offense last week looked incredible. Kyle Trask threw for 416 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 of which went to Kyle Pitts, his tight end. But one thing I'll say about this Florida team, Jason, is Their defense looked really soft, really early. Ole Miss really hung a lot of yards on them, and it's not like Florida was rotating people out. They just could not stop the Rebels. So the question is South Carolina's defense good enough to slow this offense down, and is their offense good enough to hang with the Gators? I don't think so this week, but, man, Florida's offense looked really good last week.
I think Kyle Trask, who has a fantastic backstory anyways, I think maybe in 4 or 5 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about him as a Heisman finalist. This guy has risen from nowhere to take over the starting quarterback job at the University of Florida and is just absolutely lighting the world on fire. He's got a great head coach. It's a quarterback whisperer, if you want to call Dan Mullen that. And this guy, he may be the Joe Burrow of this year's class. You made fun of me last week for picking Florida to win the SEC, but I'm telling you, they're going to be tough to handle this year.
Well, Florida's defense allowed 443 yards in the air last week. Colin Hill, who was the first-time starter for South Carolina last week against Tennessee, was 25 of 39. I thought he looked great, and really for 290 yards. Shi Smith we could not guard this guy, defend this guy. I mean, the middle was wide open each time. We've got to take that away this week against Missouri. But I think South Carolina goes to Florida. I think, anytime Muschamp gets to go back to Florida, it's kind of bittersweet for him. But I really think at the end of the day, I think Florida moves on to 2-0, but I think South Carolina drops to 0-2. But I think this game could be a little closer than what some people think.
Yeah, the spread is 17.5, and I think Florida actually covers that.
All right, boy, what a game in the SEC. Later today, 3:30. Alabama will take on Texas A&M. Alabama is the second-ranked team. Texas A&M coming in at number 13. That's a 3:30 start, CBS, and in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's dominated its series with the Aggies, winning 7 straight since Johnny Manziel led A&M to that 29-24 upset victory in Tuscaloosa back in 2012 with a performance that propelled him to the Heisman Trophy. Jason, let's begin with you.
Well, we talked last week about how many just unbelievable football players Alabama returned. A&M, I don't know if they went to Vandy, but they played Vandy last week in a close one. And I just don't think Vanderbilt's any good. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll prove us wrong. But, I believe it was 17-14, I think was the final score.
17-12.
17-12. A&M escaped with a win. Kellen Mond coming into the season was thought to be one of the top-tier quarterbacks in the SEC. Read an article this past week where a writer was ranking all 14 quarterbacks in the SEC. He had Kellen Mond at number 14. So this guy looks to be a disappointment. Alabama is going to railroad Texas A&M this week.
Wow. Well, there's a song back a few years ago that said, "Will the real Slim Shady please stand up?" And so I think this week is what you're going to see. A lot of people had Texas A&M coming in and being that, really trying to fight Alabama for that Western Division this year, but this is so different. This is a game that probably would have been played in Week 7, Week 8, Week 9 of the season normally, but now here we are in Week 2. We've got Alabama who just steamrolled Missouri, and then we've got Texas A&M who just slid out of Nashville, which I don't how in the world that even got close. I'm not sure, but you're right. Kellen Pond was 17 of 28 for 189 yards with a touchdown. I mean, this guy some people had him as a Heisman Trophy candidate possibly. Isaiah Spiller, he did have 117 yards on 8 attempts for A&M, so the run game was pretty good. But I will say this for Mac Jones was fantastic for Alabama last week. He was 18 of 24 for 249, 2 touchdowns, and Najee Harris is the fastest kid in America. In college football.
What about Holden Hartline?
Holden Hartline second, and so yeah. He was 98 yards with 3 touchdowns last week for Alabama. But the thing that really concerns me for Texas A&M, they had 8 penalties for 50 yards and 3 turnovers. If that happens this week, Alabama wins by 5 touchdowns. Oh. You can't have 8 penalties and then on top of that 3 turnovers. Alabama will run them out of the state of Texas.
All right, let's look at one more game. Then we're going to have to move on from this segment. Ole Miss and Kentucky, both teams 0-1. That's a 4:00 kickoff on the SEC Network at Kroger Field in Lexington. The Wildcats lost their opening contest of the season to Auburn in a 29-13 defeat, while the Rebels of Lane Kiffin They got off on the wrong foot, lost 51-35 to Florida. Shelton, what do you make of this one?
Well, this could be a shootout. It really could. And you may see more than, Terry Wilson for Kentucky is supposed to be touchdown Terry. Didn't happen in Auburn last week. So I think you could see some other people playing quarterback for Kentucky, moving Terry around some, letting him get maybe slot or even running back as well. But Ole Miss's Matt Corral, this kid – he 395 yards, 3 touchdowns. This guy is just he's unbelievable, the way that Lane Kiffin's got this offense rolling early in the year against what I thought was a pretty good Florida defense. But Kentucky, the key to this game is going to be the ground game. Kentucky is 15-1 over the last 2 years when they run for 195 yards or more. Florida ran for 196 last week against Ole Miss. If Kentucky runs for more than 195, Kentucky slides into week 3 at 1-1.
So what you're saying is Ole Miss has to keep Kentucky under 195 yards on the ground.
And
is that
they
what
win.
I'm hearing?
And they win.
There's no way they do that.
And they win.
There is no way. Listen, Lane Kiffin can't even spell D, okay? He doesn't know what defense is. And so I think Kentucky probably wins this one. It like Shelton said, though, it can be a shootout. It'd probably be a fun game to watch, no doubt about it. But give me the Wildcats.
All right, we got to take a break right here. Mix 104.1 Talk 101.3. And Mix TV. You can watch Mix TV. Austin Chadwick, our producer, set up the new page now where you can pick a different show, including Rocky Top Review, at mymix1041.com. You can pick from the different show offerings that we have right there. We're presented by CHI Memorial. UT Missouri kicks off at noon. Back with more in just a moment. Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial, getting ready for Tennessee home opener. Their home opener with Missouri, noon today, right here. Mix 104.1, Talk 101.3, as well as the Mix 104.1 app. Download for free. You can listen on your phone or mobile device to Cheeseburger Kessling and Tim Priest. Well, I mean, he's verbally assaulted me, Shelton.
He's not even here to defend
104.1.
himself, Steve.
Excuse me?
He's not even here to defend himself.
Oh, trust me, he's around. Literally, mymix1041.com. I love him. Oh, guys, here we go. Now we're talking. Number 7 Auburn will take on number 4 Georgia tonight. Kickoff 7:30 between the hedges at Sanford Stadium in Athens. Georgia defeated Auburn 21-14 on the road in the most recent head-to-head matchup between these two programs back on October 12, 2019. Georgia's 8-2 in the last 10 head-to-head matchups against Auburn. Shelton, this is an SEC game.
Absolutely. I think Kessling's more of a Petros chips and chili guy. Whatever, it's fine.
Right.
Georgia is number 4 in the nation. Georgia is my pick to win the SEC East. I cannot pick against Georgia in this game. However, I do have some concerns, and those would be under center for Georgia. DeJuan Mathis was horrendous, and there's no other word for that, against Arkansas last week. For Georgia now looks like Stetson Bennett, who stepped up and was solid with 211 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half for Georgia. But now here comes J.T. Daniels, who is the medical the medical transfer from USC. Now he's been medically cleared with that knee. But Coach Smart throws another wrinkle into this, and there's a 4th quarterback in the mix this week, Carson Beck, who will also take some snaps with the first team this week for Georgia, has taken first-team snaps with Georgia this week. So Georgia, the old saying used to be if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. I don't know what the saying is for 4 quarterbacks. Maybe you have 2. I'm not sure. But again, their running game also struggled against a poor Arkansas defense. They had 42 carries for 121. That's not a Georgia-type ground game we've seen in the past 5, 6, 7 years. But I tell you, if Georgia wins this game, it's going to be on defense, because their offense has really struggled and sputtered there that last week against Arkansas.
Yeah, we said the Ole Miss Kentucky game could be a shootout. This could be the opposite. This is going to be a rock fight. It's going to be an ugly football game. And yeah, the old saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. Georgia doesn't have a quarterback, and that's a problem. Okay, as a Tennessee fan, we have seen for year after year, our teams not have good quarterback play, and that's hard to watch. And so I think the Georgia faithful are going to be upset this week at the end of the game because Auburn's going to win this game. Regina Pickle's going to be happy, and the Auburn fans, Bo Nix going to have a big game against Georgia defense, and I'm taking War Eagle.
Well,
All right. Did you make a pick, Sheldon?
I did, Georgia.
Georgia, sorry,
Yep.
haven't
Yeah.
you? Well, I got my best buddy over here. Who's with us here today, Jason?
He's
You know
not even
your
paying
son's name?
attention. No, he's not even paying attention.
Oh, he doesn't care. He's like most of our listeners.
Kelby,
Is this
you want to say
Kelby?
hi? My son Kelby's in the studio
Kelby,
today.
how are you? You doing good? You still love Daddy?
It wasn't solid, but yeah.
Oh, there's Kelby. That's a good shot. So make sure Mom see. It's your debut on TV.
You know,
Or I guess he's been on before.
He probably has.
Probably America's Most Wanted with his dad when they busted you that time. How about it? Arkansas and Mississippi State. It's tonight at 7:30 at Davis Wade Stadium in Starkville. It'll be on the ESPN network. Mike Leach, I love him. He began his tenure last week in the SEC by not only winning, but defeating the defending national champions LSU 44-34 in Baton Rouge. Cox, I'm telling you, I love Mike Leach.
Listen, if you're going to enter into the SEC, why not come in and beat the defending national champion, right?
What's Ric Flair say?
To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Woo! So, I think somebody in this studio, and it wasn't me, said that LSU was the most overrated team in the country last week. Shelton's raising his
He
hand.
texted me as soon as that game was over.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes.
KJ Costello, 36 for 60, 623 yards, five touchdowns. You just know that if you play in a Mike Leach offense and you are named his quarterback, you're going to put up video game numbers. And that was just incredible to watch them run up and down the field. I believe LSU tied them or took the lead late in the game. Well, Costello took the ball, and like 4 plays later, they scored and won the football game. Arkansas, they put up a fight against Georgia last week. Sam Pittman made a pretty decent introduction as a head coach. But I'm going to take Mississippi State in this game. The spread's about 17, and I think that's about right.
The difference between Mississippi State and Tennessee, if Mike Leach would have been the coach of Tennessee, and we would have defeated the defending national champions, this week on the Tennessee River, there'd be pirate ships all the way up and down the Tennessee River, because that's what Tennessee fans do.
That's right.
But again, KJ Costello, what can you say about this guy? His first game in the SEC, he breaks a single game record with 623 yards of offense in the air. He knocked off a 27-year record by 79 yards. It wasn't like he beat it by 5 yards. By 79 yards, he crushes that single game passing record. But the Bulldogs really, if you look, they threw the ball to so many different guys in this game. It wasn't just like I've got one go-to guy. Their running back, Colin Hill, he caught 8 receptions for 158 yards coming out of the backfield. So even you got your running back catching 8 passes, and he's not the guy that touched it the most of all those. Mitchell for them had 7 receptions for 183. But I tell you, Felipe Franks is an SEC veteran. He came from Florida and now is at Arkansas. If there's one thing that Mississippi State showed last week is they're not great on defense. Can Arkansas be that good? And does Mississippi State have a little bit of a hangover over beating the national champions? Do they have a little bit of a hangover, just enough to make Arkansas have this be interesting? But I still think the Bulldogs move on to 2-0. Arkansas continues to get better under Pittman. They fall to 0-2. But I like Mississippi State in this one, and I can't wait to see what Costello does this week after last week's performance.
All right, guys, and LSU is going to try to recover against Vanderbilt tonight at 7:30 on the SEC Network. That game is at Vandy in Nashville. LSU, of course, left that poor first impression for 2020 with a loss to Mississippi State we're talking about. But the 20th-ranked Tigers have a chance to make a better one when they travel to Nashville for tonight's kickoff with SEC full Vanderbilt. Shelton, what do you make of this one?
If Vanderbilt beats LSU this week, I will wear a Vanderbilt jersey to the show next week.
Oh, my.
I mean, there is no chance. There is zero. There's always a chance, but this one's zero. I mean, there's no chance. Vanderbilt, I don't know what happened last year or last week. I have no idea why there was such a struggle up there for Texas A&M. But I like LSU in this one just because they're more athletic. They've got just better athletes on both sides of football. And again, Vanderbilt is just although they lost by 5 to Texas A&M, I just don't see them even staying close in this one.
You know, I think last week LSU laid an egg, and Vanderbilt probably played over their head. So we're going to know a whole lot more about both of these teams after Saturday. If Vandy can keep it competitive, if Vandy can beat LSU, then we'll know LSU's truly just not any good. If LSU blows out Vandy, then we'll know Vandy's really not any good, like we suspect. So, we'll know the spread on this one's 21. I kind of think it'll be a rock fight. I kind of think it'll be an ugly game.
Wow.
I think LSU wins by probably 10.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
Well, we're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we'll look at today's game, Missouri at UT in Knoxville. It's the home opener for Rocky Top, as Tennessee will host Missouri right here on Mix 104.1, also on Talk 101.3 at noon today. Rocky Top Reviews presented by CHI Memorial. CHI Memorial, imagine better health. Memorial Convenient Care has flu shots available. They'll be here next week to give Jason and Shelton flu shots live on the air.
I'll take it.
All right, we'll
No
be
chance.
back in just what?
No chance.
Back in just a minute. Back for a final segment. It's Rocky Top Review presented by CHI Memorial. And the main attraction for all of us in Rocky Top land, Missouri comes to number 21, Tennessee. Kickoff today at noon at Neyland Stadium. It's the home opener as number 21, Tennessee, brings with them the Southeastern Conference's longest winning streak into today's game against Missouri in Knoxville as the Vols host the Tigers. With a win today, the Vols move to 2-0 for the first time in 3 years. Stephen Shelton, my goodness, what an opportunity.
Welcome home, Cade Mays.
Mm-hmm. He's free.
Welcome home. He has been freed. The offensive line played really well last week. There was a few times they got overmanned where our running backs didn't pick up the blitz, which made Garantano have to run a little bit for his life or get rid of the ball early. But for the most part, you have to grade that offensive line as an A. Cade Mays just makes this so much better. But I'm getting whispers out of Knoxville. Cade Mays may not play offensive line the whole time. Cade Mays has been working a little bit at tight end for the Vols as well because they're so deep on that offensive line. So if you see Cade Mays lining up, special in some of these special packages, he could be lining up as an eligible receiver. Again, offensive line / eligible receiver.
Can you imagine? It was 6'8", 340 pounds.
Tight end for the Tennessee Vols. But, don't sleep on these Missouri Tigers. Now, they again, Alabama jumped out on them really, really fast. But the former TCU transfer, Sean Robinson, when he stepped in at quarterback, he was 19 of 25 for 185 yards and a score. The Tigers scored 16 points in the last 16 minutes of that game, and that wasn't because Alabama just put in their second string. This is a deal where this kid could really, really take care of the football.
But they had, just so you know.
Well, again, so the things that Tennessee has to do better today to beat this Missouri team, because remember, Missouri was a thorn in the side of the Vols when they first came to the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
Tennessee can't be 1 of 12 on third down conversions today. They just can't. DeAndre Johnson has to have another big game for Tennessee. Henry Toa has to have another big game for Tennessee. But I really think that Tennessee, this is a must-win. If there's must-win games, this is the must-win game for Tennessee, because then we go from a stretch after this week of Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, and Auburn. So this has to be, get out in those 2 games, get these 2 under our belt, and then let's look at the next 4 and try to do the best we can to win half of those games so we can move to 4-2, which would be great going into that last stretch of the season. But I like Tennessee today. I think we'll see more than one quarterback play. I'll be shocked if we don't, but Tennessee moves on to 2-0 today and looking at a gauntlet the next 4 weeks.
Eli Drinkwitz is the head coach at Missouri now. He came from Appalachian State. I believe he's a Gus Malzahn guy. Is that right? I think he's out of that coaching tree. He's an offensive mind. That's why he's here, to build a high-powered offense. But I said last week, I just think he's a bad fit in the SEC. He's just, to me, he's not an SEC-level head coach. Sean Robinson, I think, is a quality quarterback. Larry Roundtree III is the running back. He's given us fits the past, it seems like 8 years. He's been there forever, but he's a solid running back. And so I think Missouri comes into this game, and they can cause this Tennessee defense some problems. However, Jeremy Pruitt is a defensive guy. and I expect him to have a good game plan for this. These young defensive backs that played last week that Shi Smith just carved up. By the way, that was 10 catches for 140 yards by Shi Smith last week. They're only going to get better. They're only going to get better. We're getting guys back that have been out for a while now. And so I expect Tennessee's defense to stand up to the challenge. JG has to game manage once again. Let's win the turnover battle. Let's complete some passes on third down. Please and thank you. Keep the chains moving. I don't know what the over-under is, but I kind of expect this to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to take Tennessee 34-24 over Missouri.
All right, gentlemen, there you have it. Rocky Top Review for the for week number 2 here on Mix 104.1 and Talk 101.3 The Buzz. Thanks to CHI Memorial. CHI Memorial, imagine better health. Don't forget, flu shots are in at Memorial Convenient Care Public Shopping Center, open 7 days a week. We're getting ready to join the Vol Network. Right here on Mix 104.1 and Talk 101.3. Join the thousands who have downloaded the Mix 104.1 app. It's free thanks to CHI Memorial. Download at mymix1041.com. And now, let's join the statewide stadium as we go to the Vol Network.